welcome to this episode of Musically Cogitating, a podcast about the relevance and importance of living and contemporary music of all kinds and about how that music impacts our everyday lives. I am your favorite podcast host, Ciyadh Wells. Thank you so much for joining me here on yet another Wednesday for another episode of what I also hope is your favorite podcast. If it's not your favorite, I just hope that you really enjoy it. And yeah, I love it. I hope you enjoy it. I'm excited to talk to you today and to bring you another solo episode where, I cogitate on some things music related, art and or music adjacent, as I like to say. As always, any important and relevant links will be in the show notes. Just a quick note, some fun things are coming up this summer, and they're going to be very exciting and very interesting. So please go ahead and subscribe or follow in your podcast player so that you do not miss an episode. Generally, I try to talk about things on this show that are evergreen, right? I want you, as the listener of the Musically Cogitating podcast, to be able to listen to one single episode of this show as many times as you want. And each time that you listen to it, I really want you to be able to glean something different from it each time. And I love listening to podcasts over and over and over again. And while you may never listen to this one again, I like to create things with that in mind. And that's really important to me. I think the best kinds of podcasts are the ones that you can listen to again, more or less. I know that there are some great podcasts out there that you may not necessarily want to listen to again, but generally speaking, I want this to grow, and I want you to feel like it's something that you can come back to time and time again. Today, though, I think the topic is going to be a little less evergreen, a little bit more timely and relevant to you and to me, but I think I'm gonna be able to share these thoughts and ideas with you in a way that even if you're listening to this far beyond the current year of 2021, that you are still able to really think about the important messages or thoughts that I am cogitating on today or that I'm going to share with you. Please let me know if you think this is successful or was successful, or if you enjoyed this topic, or if you're like, Ciyadh, I'm ready to move on. Please stop cogitating. Please stop ruminating on that particular thing. So, judging from the title of the episode, you can tell that we're going to talk about getting started again. And that refers to how we're all kind of at this point where we're starting things again. We're starting projects again. As artists, we're starting to perform live again, rehearse with other people. We are promoting and creating events again, and we're attending things, and we're seeing people, and we're doing all of these things again. And maybe it's that you're not really doing any of those particular art or music adjacent things, but maybe you've put a project down, it was a hobby of yours, and now you feel like you are in the space to really come back to it, and it's something that's kind of been weighing on you in a positive way, something that you feel called and compelled to get back to. And I recently did a presentation with friend of the show / regular co-host Jess about the topic of ruminating on reopening. And so we talked mostly from the arts admin presenter's perspective about what you need to do to basically start making art in person again. And we talked about how you should consider the thoughts of the people who you work with, who work for you and with you, you should consider the thoughts of the people in your community and of the artist and that type of thing. And it was a lot of fun, and I think we had a really small yet impactful conversation around it. And side note, you can totally ask me to come talk to your group or organization about this or anything, but side note over. But we have this really great conversation about what it meant to consider things and to discuss things when you're thinking about starting again. And regardless of how you might feel about what's going on in our world, we're at this place where we have to really consider more probably than we have ever really before when it comes to especially making art and being in the same space with people, being in community with people. And as much as I love to believe that really meaningful acts and moments of art and art making happen when you're by yourself, because they do, art and music of all kinds is made to be consumed within the company of other people most times, which right now requires us to begin again to reconsider how things will be after some of us have taken a break in many ways. Art has never stopped being made. It was never stopped. Some people say, we're restarting, and although I called this on starting again, I think that art never stopped. I think the way that we consumed it changed. And I like to think, I hope that it changed for the better, but it was still there to be consumed and to be shared. And for people like myself who were still really interested in making art, that meant that we made a lot of videos, we live streamed. I started this podcast, we did virtual live music. And not everyone decided to do that with that time. And I think that's also really helpful. You can definitely see it in those of us who have just sort of continued on, not really taking too much of a break, and how it is really starting to impact and affect our current working lives. But, because the hustle never rests and the fight to stay relevant adjacent is very real. But there were creative people kind of doing all those things, taking a break and keeping going, and nothing was right or wrong, because you have to do what's best for you. And I did what I believe is best for me. And for me, that meant I needed to continue to create while maybe others needed to take a rest. But regardless of whatever our personal practices might have been around art or around anything that we practice and that we want to get better at, or maybe just something that we do and that we're on this journey on and in, sometimes you have to pick things back up, and you have to make a lot of decisions, and you have to consider things before you do that. And although people have, as I like to say, ripped their masks off and such, which is fine, because it is. There's a lot that we need to consider when we're getting started again, whether that be again in art making or in whatever it is that you're trying to get back to. If we've taken some time away, it might not be in the best interests of ourselves and our community to just jump back in head first. And maybe you think so, maybe you disagree with what I just said, and I would love to hear and to be in dialogue with you about that, because I don't know about you, but I think taking our time and easing back into things is okay. And it's been a really difficult time for many of us, so I can understand why there are no two people who seem to really feel the same about this. Much less, I think it's so difficult for entire organizations or groups of people to be able to come together and make a decision and understand and consider everything that's really going on. And this isn't specific to, the time of 2020 and 2021, I think in general, when you're starting something new, when your organization is starting a new series, when you decided that you're going to take on a new project, you have to really consider everything, especially if it's going to involve other people. And if it's just something that you're doing by yourself, you might not need to consider as much. But of course, my mom always used to say that everything that you do will affect at least 5 people around you. So you have to think a little bit if it is that you're going to, start going back to yoga, for instance, how is that going to affect 5 people and around you and those people in your life? It matters. And that doesn't mean that when you're doing something personally that you survey those 5 people and you ask them and you consider their opinions heavily and you weigh them very deeply, although that is something that I totally often do. But it just means that sometimes you give it a little thought. And again, involving people in the process is really important. And I mean the entirety of the process. I don't mean at the very end when it's time for them to buy season tickets. I mean from the very beginning, from the stages of you deciding that you're going to embark on this series or this project or this thing. You have to involve people in all of the steps, because people like to support things and be involved in things that they can see. And if they can't see the vision sometimes from the beginning, then it's not really going to go maybe as far as it probably could have. I'm an artist. As you know, I talk about that a lot. And I work for an arts organization. And I, try to be as involved as I can be in my local arts community. And I have received nary a survey about how I feel about going back into orchestra hall, for instance. And I think that's a disservice. I think we, as people who make things and who start things again and who work to serve people, I think that we have to consider how they feel. And we have to ask them how they feel. There of course will be some really, shall we say, opinionated people who will tell you how they feel, and we should also consider those. But some people, they're not going to tell you what they really think or how they really feel until you ask them. And so maybe asking them again at the beginning of the process rather than the end is how you're going to really be able to consider how everyone feels, how those decisions that you make that are going to affect more than 5 people, how those decisions will make those people feel. And as an audience member, as a patron, as an arts person, as someone in this community, I want to know that someone is listening to how I feel. And it doesn't mean that I'm the person who they base all of their future decisions off of. But I want it to at least know that how I feel and what I thought was considered. And generally, I think that finding out about how people feel about, I don't know, the price of your season tickets or how your season is going or anything like that is really important, because art is not made in a vacuum. And how we make it and how we plan to do so can't be done without thinking about other people. And so when we're thinking about starting again, beginning again, we have to consider other people in the process. This is, and I think some people have botched this opportunity already, but some of us, I think we still see it, we still know it. This is an opportunity for us to begin again, to rethink how we've done things in the past. And I haven't really seen enough people rethinking what was going on, because it wasn't as great as we like to think it was. And we did all of this talk about how the field is going to change. We're going to suddenly be more inclusive. Black people are finally going to get all of those opportunities in life that have been taken from us and all of those things. And I haven't seen that happening yet. for a lot of organizations. I have seen some organizations live up to their promises, and it is actually a really awesome thing. But it does kind of feel like instead of beginning again and starting over and starting fresh and starting anew, that we're just going back to what was already a broken system of creating, presenting, and consuming art. And a lot of us, we made these personal commitments and changes too, and it's not coming through. I haven't seen too many people doing anything differently. And, we have the opportunity, like I said, to start again, to do it over, to do it better. And we're not. And people need to be. People need to be doing things better than they were before because they weren't great. We have the opportunity to be better now, and we should do better. So let's think about how to begin again, how to start something fresh, how to start something new. We need to consider everyone's wants and needs in all of the ways. We need to keep our promises that we made. If we made a promise to our community, to ourselves, to the public, about anything, we got to stick with it, within reason. But we have to consider what is best for our community, who we're serving, and we have to think about what is the goal. And I can't say, for you, if what your journey is now is that you're going to run a half marathon, that how to get there, and maybe your goal has changed. Maybe now your goal is actually 10K or 5K. That might be your ultimate goal. I can't decide that for you. You can, but this is an opportunity to be fresh, to start again. And if we don't change now, I'm afraid for the future. And this is not one of those dramatic Rolling Stones articles about the future of the art. No, it is really just, I think that we have an opportunity to do better for ourselves and for each other. We have the opportunity to improve. And so I hope that we can take advantage of that opportunity. So that's what I'm thinking about. That's what I wanted to share. Cogitating on starting again, on beginning again, begin again is what I'm really thinking about. And I'm hoping that was helpful, and that at any point you're able to take something away from that. And if you did, I think that's awesome. If you didn't and you're like, Ciyadh, what did you just talk about? That's totally fine too. Sometimes I just have these thoughts that I need to get out, and so I got them out. Now you know what time it is. It is time for the music recommendation of the week, and this time I want you to take a listen to Lay Song, which is the first record off of Chris Thiele's new album Lay Songs, and it'll of course be linked in the show notes. And man, Chris, what a guy. So take a listen to that, let me know what you think, and it'll be linked in the Spotify playlist and shared on the Instagram and all of that stuff. Speaking of Instagram, don't forget to follow the podcast on social media and to check out the website. Sign up for a newsletter, which you'll receive about once every other month with some bonus content and stuff like that. If you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, and I know that a large majority of you are, I would so appreciate it if you just went to that little, scroll down to the bottom of the page and you gave the show a like and you rated it. And if you really love it, you could leave me a review, because I really appreciate it. Or you could just email me and you could tell me how much you love, or how much you might not love what I just said. But I'm open to everything that you have to say, and I appreciate any time that someone takes time out of their day to listen to the show and to give me feedback, positive or negative. You can also buy a sticker before they run out. Buy a sticker. They're super cool, and you get a bookmark if you buy the sticker as well. So we will be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of the Musically Cogitating podcast. Until then, bye-bye.